Welcome to another episode of Tarot by Hilary Live. I am your hostess with the mostest, Hilary of tarotbyhilary.com, right there at the bottom. If you're watching over YouTube and over Facebook. I am a professional tarot reader, demystifying the mystical and putting you in touch with the most beautiful of gifts, your own intuition, because yes, my friend, do not argue with me. You have intuition. I believe everybody has intuition. So for tonight's episode, of course, I'm realizing that I don't have my headphones plugged in. Hi, Twin Moon Tarot over on Instagram. So this is like the third week. I'm simulcasting to 3 different sources or places. So we'll see how it goes. I know I've been tempting fate this past couple of episodes by doing that during a Mercury retrograde, but so far so good. I'm going to knock on wood that we haven't had any issues pretty much at all, except for spammers. I don't understand why. We haven't had problems with spammers like in the last year and a half that I've been doing these broadcasts. And in the past month, it's been terrible. I don't understand why. So let me make sure everything is copacetic. Actually, yeah, that should be good. As long as everyone can hear me and see me, that's just perfect. So let me know over on Instagram if you can see me and hear me. Let me know on YouTube and Facebook if you can hear me and see me. So tonight's episode, and I forgot to put it up on my little widget here. Let me check here. I've got my sticky notes. My sticky note that I created for the Ipsy stuff. After the last episode, I shared some of my haul from Ipsy, right? Hold on one second here. It's not letting me type, and it's not letting me move it. This is not just Ipsy, folks. We have an entire episode scheduled. So let me grab that description. Let me see if I can fit all of it in here. Ooh, that is too much. That's pretty long. Self-love and self-care. I think we can take out the included. Right. I don't think I can make the box any bigger though, but that's all right. Anyway. Okay. We're all set. Yes. So Katie says, hello, and yes, the spammers have been annoying. So I'm going to do a little PSA before we start. If you see anyone contacting you in the comment section, asking you, DM me for a reading, please do not contact these people. Please report them, or you don't have to let me know that they're doing it. I can see it in the chat too. And just keep in mind that I'm just going to have one butt in because I'm not really listening to music or anything. So just to remind people, if people are contacting you, don't respond to them. I am totally cognizant of any chat comments that are coming through this beautiful setup Be Live. I see that Sarah is commenting. I love this setup, all the graphics around it. I love it. It looks great. Yeah, Sarah, hi. First of all, hi. It's nice to see you. And second of all, this is a third-party app called Be Live for those of you watching over Facebook and YouTube. And so they offer simulcasting. Yes, it's paid. It's a paid subscription that I pay for every year. But I find it's well worth it for production value. It makes me look very professional. Hold on, let me move my my phone over a little bit here, so you don't have to see it on screen over here, but you can still see me over here on Instagram. I still love my Instagram people. Hello, Chasing Soren. Welcome to the broadcast. Yeah, so this is Be Live, which is a third-party app, and it gives you kind of all of this production value, and you're able to like see everything, feature comments like Sarah just did, and also different cards. Like you have agendas, you have little widgets, you have this overlay where you can put your branding. It's like super, super helpful, and there's really not much to it. It's very intuitive and very easy to work with. Kind of what you see is what you get. So yeah, and it's wonderful for teaching as well, which is what I do pretty much every week for these live workshops. So, and just to circle back to what Katie was saying, hi, anything from Spirit, please. This is not a space for free reading requests. If you would like a reading from me, that's totally cool. You can go ahead and book one at www.tarotbyhilary.com. However, I do start off every broadcast with astrology from Theresa Reed, aka the Tarot Lady, and then we also end each episode with a weekend forecast, which is either one tarot card or one oracle card. So stay tuned to the end of the episode, and you will have that version of a free reading or a message from spirits. But that's for the collective. That's for everyone. Yes, awesome. Great, Katie. Thank you so much. So long time viewer, regular viewer. Thank you so much, Katie, for checking up on how this looks on YouTube. It should be exactly the same on YouTube, except different people watching. It's the same. The only thing that looks a little bit different is my Instagram live over here, which is just very bare bones. You don't get any of the graphics. So Instagram live people, if you're joining me over here, I'm looking at you. You can feel free to come on over to my Facebook page or my YouTube channel. It's same thing as my handle on Instagram, Tarot by Hilary, Hilary with one L, or Hilary Tarot, also with one L, over on my YouTube channel. So check me out there if you would like to see what I'm talking about when I'm talking about all of the additional graphics. You still get the information. You still get the information on here, though, but it's more bare bones over on Instagram Live. Less production value, but you're still getting the content. So, all right. Now, let us talk a little bit about what we're going to talk about for this week's episode, which is all about tarot for self-love and tarot for self-care, because it is the month of February. This was by popular request. What is that on my foot? By popular request. We talked a little bit about love cards last week. What tarot cards you want to see in a romance reading, what tarot cards you don't want to see in a romance reading. So that was last week's episode. If you want to check that out, there are all of the free workshop videos are in the archive section, both on Facebook Watch and on YouTube. On my YouTube channel. So you can go ahead and check it out there. So even if you didn't attend live, you still can get information out of these broadcasts, and you can watch them anytime you want to. They're available for you. So that was last week's episode. This week's episode, what is this episode about? It is about tarot for self-love and self-care. So most of it, the real crux of what we're going to be talking about is defining what self-love is, defining what self-care is, because sometimes people misunderstand it. They misunderstand, oh, well, self-care, oh, that means like getting a mani-pedi every other week, right? Or that means going and getting a facial. Like, no, that can be a form of self-care if that's something that you like to do, that you find to be rejuvenative. But it's not necessarily the only form of self-care or the only way you can take care of yourself. There are other ways, and other ways that don't cost you anything either, besides your time, your energy, your focus, carving out time on the calendar. So you know, self-love and self-care kind of go hand in hand. You know, if you want to really express care for yourself, that is a form of expressing love for yourself, for your body, for your mind, for your spirits. So if you are just coming along here now and that this message is resonating for you, then you're in the exact right place at the exact right time. And you might need to hear that you're worthy of self-care. You're worthy of self-love. You're like, there's such a problem with self-care because often people feel like, I don't have time for it. I don't have time for self-care. What are you talking about? You know? And if that sounds like you, hold on, let me make sure my Wi-Fi is okay, because I was seeing a little snafu there. If that sounds like you, if you repeat that to yourself, I don't have time to take care of myself. I don't have time for self-care or a bubble bath or, you know, getting my nails done. That's the same kind of argument as I don't have time for meditation or I don't have time to rest. Well, when you do that, it's almost as if you're telling yourself you're not worthy of that love, or you're not worthy of that time and attention and that care, you know, and it comes to a point where you start to become burned out because you don't take the time to exert some of these self-care practices that we're going to be talking about this episode, and you end up getting sick, or you end up getting worn down, or the universe makes you rest because you've been saying it so long, I don't have time for it. Well, you're going to have to make time when you get sick, when you're exhausted, when, you know, you finally, like, your weekends are shot because you've just been going during the week, that on the weekend you have nothing left to give. Like, that's what self-care really is. It's replenishing ourselves, you know, that care is coming back into ourselves. It's almost as if that what you do for your present self today is depositing a check for tomorrow, for your tomorrow person or your future self. So Language of Spirits join. Hello over here on Instagram. So if that makes sense to you, if that resonates with you, drop something in the comment section. Let me know if this is something that you're interested in, because this is what we're going to be talking about. And it is going to be super focused, because I feel like the longer we do these workshops every Friday night, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the longer we heighten the probability of the spammers. So let's get in here, give you your astrology, give you some tools about self-care, what it's for, what things you can do, what self-care is, what self-care isn't. And then let's do your weekend forecast, and then get you out of here. Okay? If that sounds good to everyone, let me know. Sprinkle those hearts or those comments and let me know. So first off, let us start with the astrology from Theresa Reed, aka the Tarot Lady. And I'm going to go ahead and pull it up on here. I'm also realizing that I didn't grab water or anything. I just simply forgot. I just sat right down. I was going to do makeup, and that didn't happen. I was going to do a little makeup tutorial. That didn't happen, you know. Skidding in here once again at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and just teaching you what you need to know. I don't need to be made up for that, though it is fun. So let me pull this up. And by the way, I have not done the card of the day yet today. It's just been a very, very busy day as usual. Yes, exactly. I don't know if I'm going to be pronouncing your name correctly. Maisha, Practicing how you speak to yourself is self-care. Yes, we're going to get to that. Absolutely. You're absolutely right. I like to think of it as like whenever my friends have like when I was like, oh, I'm sorry, or I'm this or I'm that, or oh, I'm so stupid, and I say it so casually that I'm almost like not thinking about it, and then my friends will say back to me, don't you talk about my friend that way. And then I'm just like, oh, okay. So, you know, the way we talk to ourselves, even in passing sometimes, you know, can tell us a lot about uh, how we need to be talking to ourselves. All right, sorry. Readjusting my phone here. And let me use the widget over here to cover up a multitude of sins, right? Okay, let's see. And my husband just got into the shower. So I was going to ask him to go get me a glass of water, but he's already in the shower. So, all right. We are in the week of February 15th to February 21st. Hey, honey, can you grab me a glass of water, please? Or grab me my seltzer, or... Thank you. Okay. So if you have never made it to one of these broadcasts, this is from Theresa Reed, aka the Tarot Lady, from her wonderful Astro-Biz Digest, in which she gives you astrology in really down-to-earth terms. It's mostly focused towards entrepreneurs, but I found it to be really, really great for just planning. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. I like the floor show. Seltzer. Remember to stay hydrated, friends, especially when doing mystical stuff. Very important. So what was I saying? Astro-Biz Digest. So I found this astrology. Yes, it's geared toward entrepreneurs, but it's super, super useful for planning things personally as well. Like I found it to be useful in my personal life. So I talk about it all the time, and I will not give all of the astrology away. I would like really encourage you to get a subscription to the Astro-Biz Digest. It's only $99 a year. It's really, really reasonable. If some of our regular viewers, the regular Friday night crew, can drop the link into the chat, I'd really appreciate it. I think it's just www.thetaraolady.com/astro-biz-digest, I believe is the site. But if someone can drop that into the chat, I'd appreciate it. Thank you. So what I usually do is I usually will give the astrology for today, for Saturday, and for Sunday. So let's keep in mind that, am I on the right week here? Yes, I am. Let's keep in mind that Mercury is still retrograde, but it will be going direct on tomorrow. Tomorrow it goes direct. Whew, I thought for a second it was going to be Sunday. I didn't even mean that to be a pun, Sarah, honestly. So Ariel loved your astrology pun. Astrology in down-to-earth terms. Well, I mean, it's true, though. Sometimes it can get very esoteric very quickly when you're talking about astrology, especially what does the North Node mean? What does Moon in Pisces mean? What does Aries? My Venus is in Aries, or my Mars is in Aries. Like, what does that mean? Theresa explains things in such a way that you can understand what that means and how that's applicable to your own personal natal chart. Thank you so much, Katie. So Katie's gone ahead and shared it. Wow, I remember it off the top of my head. That's amazing. Language of Spirits is asking me on Insta. I absolutely love your pendant. Labradorite? Yes. Yes, I have. This pendant is labradorite. It's very blue flashy. Usually, before I got this pendant, I was just like, oh, labradorite is a green flash, right? It's more green than blue. This is actually from the wonderful New Age store Pathways Books in St. Louis. And that's where I got it from when we went, gosh, it's going to be over a year ago now. When I went there to teach at the first ever kitchen table gathering. So, so that was me and Melissa and Jamie Elford, the three co-hosts of the Card Slingers Coast to Coast podcast. And this is what happens when you get together to do a podcast. Somehow you end up creating and teaching at a conference instead, or in addition to. So yeah, I was really struck by this pendant. I don't know, it was the blue, it was the shape, it just felt really good. So that's where I got it from. So Pathways STL on Instagram, I think. Actually, let me see if I can drop that in there. Let me see. Always going to shout out great places. Pathways, no? Maybe they don't have an Instagram. I thought they did. I don't know. If anyone can remember what the Pathways is, yeah. I'm shocked that I remembered that URL. Yeah. Okay. So, so thank you, Language of Spirits. I love it too. I'm a big fan of labradorite, and labradorite is a really great crystal to when you're doing psychic work to keep you grounded, but while your head's in the clouds, as it were. You know, like it's a really great grounding stone that also doesn't ground you like too much, because you know, sometimes with intuitive work, you want to have that untethering, you know, a little bit to be able to intuit the weird things, you know, because I found the weirder the signs, symbols or intuitive flashes, the more I have to say it in a reading space. But sometimes you can get in that space too much and you can feel flighty or flaky instead. Labradorite just like pulls you right down, but allows you to float too. I don't know if that sounds weird or not, but like that's what it works for me. So look at that. Ooh, she is very frisky. Normally she doesn't flash on camera. That was a good flash. Anyway, so Astrobiz Digest. Feel free to sleep in today. The moon is void in the morning, which isn't the best for getting your work groove on. That time arrives at 11:04 a.m. when the moon zips into Gemini, the writer's moon. And actually, my natal moon is in Gemini. So that must be the reason why I was feeling so good this morning with my communications. Today and throughout the weekend, you can make progress on writing projects and clean out the inbox. Words come easily despite the Mercury retrograde. Yes, we're still in Mercury retrograde. And speaking of which, that bad boy is over tomorrow. Yay. But before you celebrate, today puts the moon in a harsh angle with the sun at 1:47 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, a distracting, lazy vibe that could derail progress and tie your tongue. I would recommend not hosting a meeting at that time. Venus squares Mars at 6:04 p.m. brings the energy vamps and entitled types out of the woodwork. Get your garlic on and show them the door. No one needs that nonsense. Power day for Gemini, weekday for Sagittarius. Actually, that's spot on correct, because that's the reason why I didn't have time to put on any makeup or do anything, because my day job cut into it. I was grooving along, getting my work done, and then something came along and derailed me, and yeah. Yeah, but a lot of writers have moon in Gemini natally. And Dina says, so many witches have moon in Gemini. I did not know that, but that's also me. I am a self-described witch too. So yeah. Okay, so that's the astrology for Friday, for today. Saturday and Sunday. Saturday's aspects are lovely, with the moon making favorable trines to Saturn, Mercury, and Jupiter throughout the day. Write content, answer emails, host meetings, send out newsletters. Any and all of these activities will be gold for your business. Mercury stations direct, yay, at 7:52 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we are all ready to cry, have a drink, and breathe a sigh of relief. Take the evening off and rest. You deserve it. Sunday morning is quiet. Pour a cup of joe and keep on writing, or take the day off. In fact, that's probably the wisest to do, since the moon will be void at 1:39 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It will enter Cancer at 10:53 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the best moon for getting your home office in order. But who wants to do that tonight? Not me. That Cancer vibe is sticking around for 2 more days, more than enough time to clean up your space. My plan, recovery weekend from Mercury retrograde. Both days are power days for Gemini and weekdays for Sagittarius. And hello, Diego. Hi there. All right. So what I like to do at this point is I usually give the astrology for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But has anyone had like kind of fucked up weird days other than Friday, Saturday, and Sunday? Because we can revisit those days to see if there was something going astrologically that might explain some of it. Now, we don't want to make excuses using astrology. We want to work with that energy rather than working against that energy. We also don't want to be those kind of people that are just like, oh, well, you know, my sun sign is an Aries, so I'm a bitch, and people just need to deal with it. Like, no. Like, I have 3 signs in Aries. So I'm a triple fire sign. That doesn't mean that I make excuses when I, you know, flame up or get angry. You know, you have to know your strengths and work on your weaknesses. So let's not use astrology to make excuses. But does anyone have any weirdness that happened previous to today that they would like to know what astrology was going on, according to Theresa Reed, before we move on to self-love and self-care and how we can incorporate the tarot into our self-love and self-care practices? Feel better? Yeah? All right, I'm not seeing anything, but I'm also seeing that it's a weak signal strength for my Wi-Fi. So let me know if there's any problem seeing or hearing me, guys, so that I can adjust accordingly, because right now it looks fine on my end. But I don't want to assume. You never want to assume. Okay. All right. I think we all can agree with you, Katie. It's been a rough one. I'll just be glad when Mercury retrograde finishes. Yeah. I mean, it's been a very strange and particularly screwy Mercury retrograde. It's been a little bit nuts. All right. Good. Okay. So everyone can see and hear me well. Okay. Awesome. Great. All good. All good. Okay. All right. Let us move on then to the topic at hand, the topic that was chosen by popular demand. And then I'll give you a little preview of next week's episode. Now, we do have, actually, let's do that first. Let's pull that up here. So today, actually, So on the 5th, we did the introduction to this month's episodes. Oh, thank you, Katie. Yeah, I think Katie, you're on Facebook, and Dina is on YouTube. So I've got people everywhere checking and making sure that the broadcast is good. So thank you, I appreciate that. So Friday, the first Friday of February, we did an intro to this month's episodes, and we basically came up with the editorial calendar or the schedule of episodes, what the topics would be for February. Last week, Friday, February 12th, we talked about the good and bad tarot cards for LOVE, mostly talking about which cards you want to see in a romance reading versus which cards you do not want to see in a romance reading and why. And we discussed some of those, and also a little bit about tarot card combinations and, some cards that I thought to be kind of unusual to see in romance readings, like for both good and ill, but it was a very enlightening conversation. And that's always what I want to have here in these weekly workshops. Is it's not just me teaching at your faces. It's like, that's not what I'm here to do. I would rather teach through conversation, teach through other people's experiences with the cards, because that's really where you learn the tarot. If you are learning the tarot, is through personal experience and personal connection to the tarot cards. Like, I can say everything that can be said about the Hermit card, but until you experience the Hermit card in a reading or you have that connection, there's no amount of what I can say about the card that will create that personal connection for you. So ultimately, I feel like it starts with that personal connection and that aha of seeing the card in a personal way, or seeing the card in a new and different way that is unexpected. And then you start to really learn beyond the keywords, beyond the rote, beyond the companion books or the little white books, and you start to really understand the language of the tarot and how tarot speaks to you, because it doesn't necessarily speak to everyone in the same way. So and then this week's episode is tarot for self-love and self-care. And then next week's episode, we are going to be revisiting the wonderful Tessera Oracle and doing some charm readings. So if you're here looking for a quick fix or a free reading, not this episode. Next week's episode, yeah, I'm going to be doing free 1 question, 1 charm readings. So if that's your bag, baby, definitely want to tune in next Friday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay. Where is my Tessera right now? Where the heck did I put that? Right over there on my coffee table. It's usually like right here next to me on my small table. So, and I just saw some flood of hearts over on Instagram Live. So hello and hi, Faye, Lady Faye. Welcome to the broadcast. So let us talk. Let me take down that, and let us talk about why I didn't make this agenda ahead of time. Let's copy and let's talk about tarot for self-love and self-care. Most of this episode is not going to be focused so much on the tarot portion of it. I mean, we are going to be pulling in how you can use tarot for self-love and self-care. But most of all, what we're going to be talking about, what self-love is, what self-care is. Not so much self-love. I think self-love is fairly explanatory. And it's more about directing that love back towards yourself instead of directing it outward to other people, because, or at the very least, starting with that love. That's what self-love is really all about. But self-care, like, there's a reason why I'm teaching both of this together. It's because if you don't express self-love, then you're probably not really giving yourself enough self-care because you don't think you're worthy of self-care. Does that make sense to everybody? All right, Faye Lady Faye has to go. Well, thank you for tuning in, and no problem. You can find this episode over on IGTV whenever you're ready to pop back to it. Faye Lady Faye, I like your handle. But if that makes sense to everyone, let me know in the comments, because like I feel like it's just so tied up with value, like how we value ourselves. Are we worthy of love? Are we worthy of care? And usually the answer a lot of the time is we put everyone first, and that just doesn't work out very well, because it seems almost counterintuitive. And I'm always going to bring it back to the tarot, even though I said, it's not going to be so much about the tarot, but I think it's related to the tarot. I see the Nine of Wands come up so often in readings with clients when they are not practicing self-care, when they are giving care to everybody else, taking care of everybody else and not focused on themselves. And it really is a hard card. Like, they hate that card. And I'm just like, you don't hate the card. You hate the message that you're getting because you're not doing it. And it's easier said than done. I know, because you're always having to recalibrate or come back to this concept of self-love and self-care, how to do it, how to structure it, what it is, what it isn't. And also that kind of, I don't know, it's almost this cultural aversion to the concepts of self-love and self-care, or poo-pooing it, or saying, oh, well, I don't need a mani-pedi, or I don't need a bubble bath, or I don't need, and it's just like, that's not what self-care is. So let's talk about what self-care is, rather than what it isn't, because it's going to look different for everyone. And one person's definition of self-care is another person's definition of like frivolity. So like, no judgment here. This is a judgment-free zone when we're talking about it. But I would say anything that fills up your well is self-care. And I know Sarah has something to say about this. Sarah says, so I know that Sarah is a priestess. So when she refers to she is talking about her goddess. She has made that a hard won lesson that I'm still working on, and she made it fun. The fun is in quotes, because I'm currently actually in priestess training right now, and I'm only wrapping up my first year. So I know vaguely or surfacely what Sarah is talking about, and the fun is not so fun. It's not so fun. So, and that is kind of what I was talking about a little bit before, when, if you don't allow yourself to rest, the universe makes you rest, or you become sick and then you're forced to rest. Like, that's the kind of fun we're talking about. It's not fun. So it's just like, you have to make that choice to carve out that time. Otherwise, the universe or God or goddess or whoever you think of when you think of divinity, they're going to make you do it. And it's not going to be fun. So let me pull up some of my articles here, because I've been compiling a lot. And also, I think it's just very funny that I was already teaching on this topic. I was already going to be teaching on this topic, but it just so happened that Passion Planner came out with a bunch of articles and also a sticker book about self-care checklists, self-love affirmations, all at the same time that I was prepping to write my notes for this class. So, oh, and Katie brings up a really, really excellent point as well. For me, self-care ends up being just simply saying no when I am too exhausted to give any more to those that are supposedly needing me. Sticking to that no is hard. Yeah. So thank you for bringing that up, Katie. That is something that I was going to tackle, which is about the time and setting boundaries. So the work of self-care and self-love that we're talking about today is, I believe, inherently linked to boundary work, which is sucky. And I know people are thinking right now, especially if you watched that workshop on boundary setting, you're probably hating me right now because boundary work sucks. It's awful. And it is so, so necessary, because if we have weak ass boundaries, then we are never going to be able to create the time for anything, let alone self-care, let alone rest, let alone self-love. I mean, self-love is more of a feeling that comes from within, but self-care and making the space for self-care only validates or strengthens the self-love that we have for ourselves. But if we don't have time for self-care because we don't have time to set and enforce our boundaries, then the love for ourselves is probably going to trickle or lessen or stop, because we're just going to be walking around like empty meat puppets instead of feeling that intrinsic love for ourselves, which comes from saying, I care about myself. I care about my well-being. I care enough to make time to brush my hair, or make time to get a haircut, or make time to put a little bit of makeup on and make myself feel good, or to spritz on a little bit of perfume, or light a nice candle, or buy myself flowers, you know? Katie, what are boundaries? LOL. Yeah, exactly. Go back to that episode. I will definitely, when I'm prepping the YouTube replay after this, I will put links into the directly into the episode for boundaries. Because I really think it's linked, because you need to have the time, and you won't have the time for it if you're not carving it out, if you're not putting it on the calendar, and if you're not exerting your boundaries in order to create that space for your self-care, for your self-love, for your affirmations. So that kind of ties into what I was talking about the passion planner and some of these articles, which I will put in after we're done with the episode, because I don't want you to go anywhere, but I will give you all that information so that you can look it up and look up all of these practices. There's 61 self-love affirmations that Passion Planner gives in this article. There's a creating your self-care checklist. We're going to talk a little bit about that. And then they have a self-care sticker book, which is super, super cute. I'm going to show you the sticker book that I have, which is not the self-care one. And now I'm like really bummed that I didn't get it. But I have this one from them, which is Just Start, which is super, super cute. And it just says stick with your journey. But they have these cute designs that you can put in your planner to remind yourself of, you know, that you're read more books, or get it done, or this is important, or here's a day off, or what have you. But I'm sure the self-care sticker book is going to be reminders or affirmations about your self-care and your self-love. So I know that we have a bunch of comments in here. By the way, I see that Andrea has joined the broadcast over on Instagram Live. Hi, Andrea. Nice to see you. We're talking about tarot for self-care and self-love. Very important topic. So Maisha is saying, trying to train myself to walk away from people and situations that drain me and lower my vibrations. Social media especially, the struggle is real. Yes, that is so, so true, Maisha. And actually, I've been trying very, very hard to limit myself on social media lately, and only use it for when I'm like putting up my card of the day, or of course when I'm doing the broadcast here, and then exiting it, you know, not leaving it open. possibly even deleting some of these apps from my phone so that I don't have access to it right away, so that I don't like just mindlessly scroll through. Because that mindless scrolling, you look up and it's 2 hours later and it's just like, shit, what could I have been doing with that 2 hours? Could I have been reading a book or another chapter of my book? Could I have been doing some meditation or doing some writing? Like, I think of all of the ways you can use 2 hours, and 2 hours is not a big gap of time. But I want to emphasize with this whole concept of self-care, you don't have to block out hours of time in order to do self-care. In fact, sometimes 10 minutes, 5 minutes here or there to take a little walk, or to just smell the roses, or, just sit and, watch a flame or breathe rhythmically. Like, you don't need a lot of time necessarily for some of these self-care practices. You don't have to feel like you have to block out hours of time for like meditation, for example. Meditation works in small doses and you still get a lot of bang for your proverbial buck. But like, think about, these practices in terms of like 5 minutes, 10 minutes before you go and block out hours of time. And I think that helps to really insert the self-care into your schedule. If you're feeling like, I need something, like, you need self-care. So Katie is saying, it was an excellent episode. I regularly refresh myself. Awesome. That is what it's there for. She's referring to the boundaries episode. I think I've done 2 so far, and we'll probably do it again. Just to remind ourselves, boundaries are so important. Sarah had to run. Love you bunches. Can't wait to catch the replay. Thank you, Sarah. And if you have any questions about Be Live or any of this other stuff behind the scenes, I would be happy to go over it with you. So just message me and let me know. Dina says, get self-care going before perimenopause kicks your ass. See? Yep, exactly. Like, you don't have to, don't wait. Start self-care now. let's change the title of the episode to that, right? All right. So let's see. Let's talk a little bit about, where are my notes? No, I don't want a crawler. Can I duplicate this? Add an item here. All right. So let's talk a little bit about it, even though we have talked preliminarily about it. So, and this is straight from that article that I was telling you about from Passion Planner. It was written by Jamie Santos, and this is actually from back in October, but they sent an email with, I think, all 3 of these articles, well, 2 of these articles and one, and the link to the self-care sticker book that looks similar to this, just super cute. But it may help to put your self-care on your planner, whether your planner is paper or digital. So what is self-care? And it does seem like one of those buzzwords, like I was saying, like culturally, it's just like, oh, I need my time for self-care. I need my latte. That's my self-care. Whatever. So Passion Planner defines self-care as an intentional act of taking care of yourself physically, mentally, and emotionally. It's not indulgent, but a crucial part of any person's growth. We believe that setting goals around your well-being is just as important as whatever is on your bucket list. Your self-care goals may look different than everyone else's, which is not only completely valid, but expected. Creating your personal self-care plan will be unique to you. Honor what feels right based on what you know about yourself. Self-care is what you want it to be. So it really can't be defined. by anybody else, but by you. You know, like you should be, you should be defining what your self-care is and why you need it. No one else can define it for you. Sorry about the all caps. It's just easier. It's just easier to do it this way. So we talked a little bit about why self-care is important at the beginning of this episode. It's important because research shows that engaging in self-care practices can help improve your health, increase your productivity, prevent burnout. That third one is a big one. Sometimes it's easier to pencil in our work, family, and friends into our planner or digital planner or whatever before ourselves. But know that we cannot pour from an empty cup. And that's actually something that I say to my clients all the time, especially when I see certain cards come up in their readings, such as the Ace of Cups reversed. When I see the Ace of Cups reversed, I'm just like, okay, where is that emotion going? Where is that flow going? Because the container is now empty. It's going out of you. That resource is flowing out of you, and it's not being retained by you. So we need to be able to write that Ace of Cups to be able to hold that container. And that really is what self-care can be, and what putting the boundaries, using boundaries to put this on the calendar, daily, weekly, monthly, however much you need to repeat those self-care habits. That's the reason why boundary work is so important, so that you can enforce those boundaries, so that that time is sacrosanct. Because when you, and you're going to find, like, people are going to test that time or try and get around that. Don't allow them to get around it. You need that 5 minutes. You need that 10 minutes. You need that hour lunch break, or you need that downtime as a separation between your day job and, you know, your personal time at night. And I say this with my tarot students and my psychic development students as well, creating the containers in which to do your best work. Self-care is a part of those containers. You need those bursts or those pauses in between those containers to be able to have the capacity to go and do your best work. Without your self-care practice, you are going to be trying to draw from an empty cup or an empty well. The other card that I see that indicates to me burnout is the Ten of Wands, where people are just feeling absolutely overburdened. Sometimes the Strength card can indicate that too. So I was going to look to see where the Ace of Cups is, but I can't find it in my deck right now. So. Oh, it looks like Andrea switched over to Facebook. So, yep. Andrea says, and this is a good one, you may want to write this down or take a screenshot, folks. Once you repeat, they become lifestyle. Guard your boundaries with your everything. Yes, Andrea, yes, exactly. So we talked a little bit about why self-care is important. It's important for this reason. You want to prevent burnout. You want to improve your health. You want to increase your productivity. But most of all, you want to prevent your burnout. You cannot pour from an empty cup. So give time to yourself as needed. When you are at your best, you are able to give so much more to those around you. Reclaim your daily self-care routine on your own terms. And so we're going to start with some self-care strategies to help fill your cup. And this is all coming from Passion Planner, from this article. It's a really great article. So I'm not going to read all of it to you, but I am going to give you the link to this article after the episode. Hold on. Let me update this. And give me 1 second here because I need to update. Okay. All right. Just a little bit of a clerical work there. Andrea says she switched over better view of my witch. Yeah, sorry. Can't do it all, but I see that people are still over on Instagram, so I'm going to continue the Instagram feed over there. Yes, made me laugh, but made me think too. It's a very excellent point that you gave. So, what self-care is and isn't. But I'm going to preface this with don't allow anyone to tell you what self-care is and isn't for you. So when you hear the word self-care, what do you see? At first, is it a spa day? Is it spending time in a bathrobe, listening to smooth jazz, thin cucumber slices on your eyes? That's just one way to define self-care, and not a bad one. There's no right or wrong here. However you define it, an ideal self-care practice is one that makes you feel good and at your best. Do not let anyone else, a friend, family member, especially an influencer, not even me, guys, tell you how to best take care of yourself. Whether it's getting a mani and a pedi or treating yourself to your favorite comfort meal, or doing absolutely nothing, how you practice self-care is by putting your needs first and being absolutely unapologetic about it. The unapologetic part is going to come with time and practice, but I promise you it will get easier the more you practice and the more you assert your boundaries around your self-care and your self-care time. However you define it, your self-care should not break your bank, drain your energy, or leave you feeling guilty. Most importantly, self-care is not selfish. I also say that a lot to my clients. A lot. So, let's talk about how to define self-care for yourself. So this is a kind of audience participation portion of the workshop. So how would you define self-care for yourself? There are a couple of questions to ask, but I know that Katie is already kind of jumping the gun here, which I appreciate. Turning off the phone and having a quiet day all by myself, LOL, being a hermit. Hey, sometimes you need it. I mean, some of us are extroverts, some of us are introverts, and some of us are ambiverts. And it will depend on which fuels us and which gives us energy, being around others or being alone. And I consider myself, a lot of people consider me an extrovert just because of my work, especially like what I do here. People are just like, oh, well, you're so natural on camera, or you're so this, or, you know, like you seem like to really get fueled by this. And it's just like, kind of, it's a little bit of faking it before you make it. And it's a little bit of, you know, like, actually, I felt like I was more of an introvert. Now I'm realizing that I'm more of an ambivert. Different days are going to fuel me in different ways. Sometimes I do get energy from doing these, being around people, being in conversation with people. And sometimes I just don't want to see another face. And that's including my husband, you know, quarantine cabin fever life, you know, where I just want to be alone. And actually, I was just reading an article that's they're coining a new phrase where it's just like, it's the difference between like loneliness or aloneliness, I think it is, or feeling alonely is like you don't feel lonely because like you're like quarantining with someone, but you still want that being alone. I don't know. I'll find the article and leave it for you guys too. Andrea had to go. Nice to see you. Thank you for your words of wisdom. Very, very, very helpful. Remember once again, guard your boundaries with your everything. Thank you, Andrea. Very helpful. So how do you define self-care for yourself? Because it's gonna look different. Different days are gonna look different. So what does self-care look like to you? How do you want to feel at the end of your self-care practice? What self-care activities will leave you feeling re-energized? If that's how you want to feel, sometimes you want to feel rejuvenated. Sometimes you want to feel calm or peaceful. Sometimes you want to feel recharged. So know or list which activities make you feel those feelings, and then start to incorporate them on a regular basis. And that means taking a look at your schedule or your calendar, whether it's a paper calendar or a digital calendar, and start to actually put in some time and guard that time with your boundary practices that we talked about in the boundaries workshop that I've done previously. So I know, easier said than done, Hilary. It will take some work. It does take some practice. It's not going to happen overnight, but I promise you, you will feel the difference. You might not feel the difference right away, but when you get into the habit of making self-care a priority, you really do start to feel the difference after 2 weeks. You could feel the difference right away. It really depends on you. For example, I was using daily yoga as a self-care practice, and I did it for every single day for the month of January. Now for February, it's February 19th today, I haven't done any yoga, and I feel the difference. I feel the lack. And so that's what I'm going to be doing next month, is reintegrating that daily yoga practice, because I did see the difference. I did feel the difference. I don't know if my husband felt the difference off of me or my demeanor, or if I was calmer, or if I felt more centered, but I certainly felt centered. And remember that self-care is for you. If other people don't see or feel the difference, like that can be very frustrating. But it's also like the self-care ain't for them. It's for you. Let's see. What other notes do I have? I know I have more. Let me copy that. Hold on. So the secret, I think I covered this a little bit before. Oop. Well, that's kind of cutting off a little bit, sorry. But that's a schedule. So I think the main point of this is not necessarily what self-care you will do, because it's going to be different for each and every person. It could be doing your nails. It could be putting on a little bit of makeup. It could be meditating for 10 minutes or even 5 minutes, or building up a meditation practice. Or it could be doing yoga, or doing exercise, or dancing to a song for 5 minutes straight. So it's not necessarily what you're going to do, but making time for it. So the secret, and again, this is from the article from Passion Planner. I came to realize that constantly being on the go left me tired, drained, and certainly not my best self. So this is from someone that that is a planner person and likes to plan the week ahead of time, fill the schedule to the brim, feel the need to be on the go, and then all the time. So self-care, who has time for that? So I came to realize that constantly being on the go left me tired, drained, certainly not my best self. My mind was everywhere, my health was declining, and that fire and drive burning within me was quickly running out of fuel. Because where's the fuel, right? Where's the fuel coming from if you're not doing these self-care practices? So once this person started scheduling relaxing activities for herself, she noticed she was able to give so much more to herself and to those around her. So the secret is to schedule in the time for self-care. Be intentional with your time and set an hour or two or even the whole day for yourself and make this non-negotiable. Give yourself the permission to rest. So this person that wrote this article is a little bit ambitious and said an hour or two or even the whole day. I would start smaller than that, especially if you're not used to giving yourself this time, and start to plan at least 15 minutes, half an hour in a day. So have some time to yourself, block off some time for yourself each day to give yourself the rest, to read a book, to watch a TV show that you've been planning on watching, or just to rest, not do anything. Any comments there? I'm sure there are comments here. You heading out? All right, I'll text you when I'm.
Yeah, bring it down.
I'm still recording. What did you think I was doing? Still recording. I'll text you. So Maisha says, giving myself permission to make times for things that make me happy that aren't tied to work or school obligations. My whole day, I prioritize what I have and neglect things I'd like to do. Sorry for being long-winded. No apologies. No apologies, Maisha. That's really, really good information there. Because that is basically the hard part about all of this is giving yourself permission to do this. Again, this is the reason why that boundaries episode is so important to revisit or to watch for the first time if you haven't already, because it is so part and parcel taking the time, scheduling the time for self-care, and then also treating it as sacrosanct, as sacred time, as non-negotiable. And that takes boundary work because not everyone is going to be happy about you setting boundaries. In fact, people that are going to be unhappy with you setting boundaries are usually the people that have been taking advantage of the fact that you had none or few boundaries to begin with. And if that is a revelation to you, yeah, same. It was a revelation to me too. So, any other thoughts there? So how to make a self-care schedule. Write in me time in your passion planner. Again, I'm going to keep saying passion planner because this is the article that I found it on, but I also own the passion planner. I love the passion planner. I always go back to it. This one is the rose gold weekly planner. And I think $1 for every sale went to the Malala Fund. So that's part of the reason why I got it. But look, it's rose gold. And these tabbies came, I purchased these holographic tabbies separately, super, super organized, right? But let me see here what's in my, so I actually took a sticker out of the sticker book that I showed you, which is the Just Start sticker book, but it was a sticker that said me time. So, I mean, like, make it cute, make it personal, whatever works to have you honor that time. But you got to plan it. First, you got to start by planning it, putting in the planner, putting it as a date in the calendar or a time on the calendar, because if it isn't scheduled, it's not going to happen. let's see, schedule an appointment with yourself in your Google Calendar, or block off as much time as you need so others know not to disturb you during this time. Set your notifications for Slack or for social media or email or any other apps on off. Don't feel the need to be online, and be okay with saying no to others. Be absolutely unapologetic in this. And again, revisiting that boundaries episode is going to be really, really helpful, because there is one slide, because I did do a PowerPoint. That was at the time where I was doing a lot of workshops. I think I taught it at least 3 times that week, and I wasn't planning on teaching it for the Friday night workshop. But I was just like, hey, do you guys want this? And everyone was just like, yes, I need to work on my boundaries. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, let me go ahead and teach boundaries. Sure, wasn't my plan, but I'm happy to teach what you guys want to learn. But one of the slides in that class, or in that workshop that I taught, was, you don't have to explain why it's a boundary. And in fact, sometimes we can really hurt ourselves with providing too many explanations as to why the answer is no, or no, I can't do that. Like, as soon as you start hedging the no, like, people are going to feel that it's not a strong enough boundary, and they're going to try and cross it. So, no is a complete sentence. It's something that my sister says to me all the time. Like, Hilary, no is a complete sentence. And I'm just like, you're right. You're right. And I really do think that when we over-explain our boundaries to other people, we tend to weaken instead of strengthen. We're thinking that we're strengthening our boundaries by explaining them. But in fact, we end up weakening them. So no is a complete sentence. Be very firm. Be unapologetic about it. This is a boundary. This time is important to you. Because if you don't treat the time as important to you, then other people are definitely not going to treat the time as important to them. Why would they? So remember that self-care does not have to be luxurious or expensive or a grand gesture. There's no metric to measure how much you succeed at self-care. Big or small, all forms of self-care are valid. Acknowledge that some days will be harder than others, and activities such as drinking water, washing the dishes, or simply getting out of bed are all forms of self-care worth celebrating. I mean, sometimes taking a shower even, like, I always keep in mind that there are some people that are that have limited mobility, or they can't move on their own, or they don't have a job, and in a society that derives value from occupations, or we describe ourselves by what we do for a living instead of who we are, and that's a mouthful in and of itself, right? There are people that are on permanent disability that don't have jobs, but still feel like, oh, well, I don't deserve to have self-care because, like, I don't have to go to a J job. And it's just like, but you exist, you matter. So self-care is for you, and you matter. That's why we're talking about self-care inherently tied with self-love and worth and value. Like, you exist, and because you exist, you matter. You are worthy of self-care. As long as it leaves you feeling good, count it as a win. So, how to feel good about self-care. Talk to those you trust about their self-care routines to get inspired on developing your own. Cover your planner with cute matching self-care stickers to remind you of your accomplishments. Some of these are really cute. Like, I want it. I want it. And again, you don't have to pay money to do self-care, but hey, if it works to implement the self-care and you can afford to do it, like, go for it. If that makes you happy. I mean, some of the stuff that I've been buying lately has been made me made me very happy, but they're also things that I wanted and needed as well. You know, like self-care to me sometimes is like I bought this headband with speakers in them from Dormy, and I bought it for myself because I couldn't wait for my husband to buy it for me. And now I go to bed and like I'll watch some of my shows on my tablet, so I don't disturb my husband. And sometimes I'll fall asleep with nice, soothing, relaxing music, and to me, that's a form of self-care too. Is drowning out the noises of my snoring husband so that I can get a good night's sleep. You know, like a good night's sleep, going to bed early, it costs you nothing. You know, like there's no cost associated with heading to bed an hour early just because you're feeling tired, or you want to wake up early so that you can make your room for morning coffee and morning pages and journaling. That's also self-care. So I know, Lisa, you're welcome. So let's see what else is here. Write down the good things that happened in your day and reflect on it at the end of the week. So a gratitude practice, that can be a form of self-care. So let's talk a little bit about creating a self-care checklist. And again, I know we didn't talk a lot about tarot in this episode, but you can certainly incorporate tarot into your self-care practice. See, there you go. My self-care today was taking a nap this afternoon. Oh, I wish I could have taken a nap this afternoon. I wanted one so, so badly. I'll probably go to sleep early tonight, honestly. All right. Should I make this a crawler instead? No? Ooh. I like that. That's cute. Let's see. I like that. Let's do that. So, yes, that is a good point. Dina says, Insight Timer app has a free meditation. Yeah, there are a ton of free meditation resources too. And I actually, there's an episode for that, Tarot by Hilary live, on meditation. I believe that is in the playlist on YouTube and also in the Facebook Watch for these episodes. I did talk a little bit about meditation. Yeah, there's a ton of meditation out there, free meditations that you can download. There's also different apps. Like I've heard really good things about the Calm app. I have the free version of the tapping app, which is like tapping as in emotional freedom technique, you know, where you tap on the different points. Love tapping. So EFT as a form of self-care, totally go for it. I know it sounds weird. I know it looks weird. I don't know. It's worked for me. I don't know why it works. All I know is that it works. So I'm doing it. But tarot can also be a form of self-care and self-love as well with your card of the day practice. Pulling a card of the day for your journaling at the start of the day, to share it out with your friends, or to just get a forecast of what the day is going to be like and how you need to use your energy. I mean, that is a form of self-care too. And like tarot has always been like my warning system if I'm about to burn out as well. And I mean, like, let's just see as an example for my card of the day, which I didn't do today because I just didn't get time to do it. But again, making the time to do it, it's so important. So hi, MCS. So again, whenever I see that 10 of Wands come up or the Ace of Cups, oh, yeah. So here I'm getting the 8 of Swords reversed. So it's just like freeing myself from these containers or these boundaries that other people have made for me, instead of setting boundaries and goals and time for self-care. I'm trying to free myself of that. I'm trying to exert my boundaries in such a way that it's just like, My meditation's important to me. My yoga practice is important to me. Taking time out for lunch, without screens in front of me, without eating through lunch or working through lunch where I'm scarfing down my lunch without even realizing what the hell I'm eating. Like, that is self-care. Carving out that time is self-care. So let us talk about the self-care checklist, or creating your own self-care checklist. So this is the fun part. If you don't know where to start, explore the different areas of self-care you can focus on: mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, financial, social, so much more. It's also important to remember to keep things flexible. And by flexible, I don't mean like non-negotiable, flexible, oh, that means I just won't do it today. That's not what I'm talking about. Flexible in maybe you do your self-care at 12:05 or so here, it's important to remember to keep things flexible. In the event of a bad day where you don't feel like doing much, pare down your plan to the essentials, a very basic self-care checklist. This can include brushing your teeth, taking a shower, or even just rolling out of bed. Keeping things simple is a great starting point, especially when you're starting to integrate some of these self-care practices and you're just starting out. We tend to overestimate what we can get done in a year, but we tend to underestimate what we can get done in 5 or 10 years. So like try not to overload yourself with like this laundry to-do list of self-care practices, and remember that less is more. It's the consistency that's important, and it's also the practices that will give you the most self-care and rejuvenation with those practices. Does that make sense to everyone? You can also choose the frequency of your routine. Do you prefer a daily self-care checklist to hold you accountable, or is a weekly self-care checklist more realistic for you? So remember to be realistic with your time and your needs. No matter what works best for you, you have what it takes to make your well-being a priority, because that's really what self-care is all about. Here's some examples. So there's like 10 for mental self-care, for physical self-care. Gosh, there's so many resources here. I love it. Mental self-care. Hold on, let me take a hydration break. Have some physical self-care by hydrating myself. So mental self-care, watch a movie you love for the 17th time or the 100th time or however much you've watched it. Set a time to meditate for 5 to 10 minutes in the morning or in the evening or at lunchtime, whenever you want to. Reach out to a family or friend or family member to catch up. Spend the day with yourself on do not disturb mode. Listen to a new playlist on Spotify. Color, mindlessly color with coloring pages or an adult coloring book, or even one of those apps. I think I have Happy Color on my iPad. Reminisce through your photo album and clean out anything you don't want to keep, or look at old vacation photos, especially when we're not traveling anywhere. Watch a YouTube video on a topic you're curious about. Delegate a small task to someone else. Read that book you've been meaning to read. MCS is saying in Instagram that love the glass. Yeah, we have so many comic book and Star Wars pint glasses or Pilsner glasses that it's just like, we're never going to run out of Pilsner glasses. So for physical self-care, get up from your seat and get moving. And actually, sometimes you can tie in alerts. Like, for example, my Fitbit here will alert me every hour if I to get up and move around. So it reminds me. Indulge in your favorite comfort meal. Have an at-home spa day, face mask and all. Drink a tall glass of water. Well, I've been drinking my water the entire time here. Practice a skincare routine. Take a nap in the middle of the day. Light a candle in your favorite scent. Clean your room, workspace, or entire house. Wear the outfit you've been saving for a special occasion. Play with your fur baby if you have one. Go to your favorite grocery store. Fill your space with plants. Wash your sheets and enjoy the fresh scent. Cook a nice meal for yourself. There was another one that I just thought of. Use your nice dishes. Use your nice silverware, like especially like the silverware that you like keep in a cupboard and you never use. Like we just used, we have a beautiful sushi set that we just don't use. So maybe the next time we order sushi for takeouts, we'll break that out. But you know, like what are you saving it for? You know. So Katie says, the self-care you need today might be completely different because you don't want to be making self-care a stressful thing. Exactly, Katie, exactly. So thank you for pointing out in a smaller, more abbreviated form, something that I really wanted to stress here. Like, don't stress yourself out with your self-care. Like, it's not another to-do list. It is something that's supposed to rejuvenate you and to not stress you out. So don't think of it as, oh God, that's another thing I need to do. It's just like, no. Be flexible in the self-care that you may need. It may change from day to day. You may need more of it one day. You may need less of it another day. Or you may find that it's a bad self-care day. But don't label yourself as bad just because it didn't happen that day. You know, like it may just be your self-care happens 3 times a week rather than a daily thing, you know. Define what it is and what works for you. That's really what self-care is all about. By the way, Passion Planner has a free self-care reflection PDF. So that is attached to this article. So you'll be able to download that as you need it. I also have an article to send to you about self-love affirmations. But it's like self-love is understanding that no one else knows me like I know me. Self-love is a commitment to expand, to explore, to protect, and honor that knowledge so that I may give the gift of me to the world. So this is actually a 7-day self-love challenge. So I will send that after we're done. Day 1 would be, what do I love about myself? Day 2 is, what have other people done for me that made me feel loved? Day 3 is, how do I take care of myself? So there's the self-care being brought into the self-love. Day 4 is, what am I blaming myself for? Day 5 is, how do I want to speak to myself? So that's where the affirmations comes into play. Day 6 is, what have I overcome to be who I am today? And day 7 is, what do I love about myself now? So, you know, affirmations for self-love, for confidence, for anxiety, for success, for health, for healing. Lots of good stuff here. So like from some affirmations for self-love. Let's see here. Let's run through a few of these. I don't know where I put this crawler. There you are. Okay, so some affirmations for self-love, and there's 61 different affirmations here, so I'm just going to focus on the ones for self-love right now. I love myself. Everything I need is already inside of me. I am proud of who I am. I deserve the love in my life. I accept all aspects of my being. The beauty of the world is reflected in me. I thank myself for all that I have lived through. I am complete in my own company. I speak to myself with love and kindness. That's a good one. I will speak my own love language to myself, and I am enough. So some of those are available on 61 Self-Love Affirmations. I will also include that article after the episode is over. I'll also send a link to the self-care sticker book because it's super, super cute. You can choose to get it if you want to. All right, I think we are done. We can pull tarot into this, but I did talk a little bit about how to incorporate the tarot into your self-care practices, which is mainly by doing a tarot card of the day or by asking yourself some of these questions when you're creating your self-care checklist, and asking the tarot and pulling a card to see whether or not the tarot agrees, or whether or not the tarot can suggest something else with the cards that are coming up. Or it can be a diagnostic tool to alert you in case of burnout. If you're seeing the 10 of Wands, if you're seeing the 4 of Swords, the 4 of Swords is typically a card for rest, relaxation, rejuvenation. It looks like a knight in repose with stained glass windows in the card. That typically is a card of rest, rejuvenation, meditation, and that card comes up sometimes when a client needs to rest, to pause, take a time out. Ace of Cups reversed also is another card that means that you're giving away too much. You're not keeping something for yourself or the care for yourself. So does anyone have any questions before we move on to the weekend forecast? This has been a jam-packed episode. I will pause and drink my water. And I'm looking around and feeling the urge to go for an oracle deck for the weekend forecast. No questions? Are we ready for the weekend forecast? Is that what you guys are telling me? I'm going to go ahead and put these links into the chat before I forget. Oh, that won't send. All right. I've got to shorten this link. There we go. Sorry about that. So I just put it into the chat. It's passionplanner.com, blogs, content, and self-care checklist. Lots of information there. Not just the self-care checklist downloadable, but also everything that I spoke about in this episode. And then some stuff that is like my own personal experience with self-care. And here are the affirmations. Awesome. Great. So Katie says it's been an excellent episode. Thank you. Dina says, yup. I'm assuming yup is for the weekend forecast. This one is the self-love affirmations. And this is Actually, let me see if I can do this in the live sales portion. Oh, so I'm going to try and show this. So before, that's the AstroBiz Digest, and I don't know if that's going to link in the, I hope that link, oh shoot, oopsie, try that again. There we go. Figured it out. So if you were looking to purchase the or subscribe to the AstroBiz Digest, I just shared the link to that too. So that was where the astrology came from at the beginning of the episode. All right, let me see. Add an item. Yeah, I guess that doesn't work. I wanted to show an image of this, but oh well. This is the self-care sticker book. It's super, super cute, guys. So you can't see how cute it is. You can see how cute it is after the broadcast is over, okay? But it'll encourage you. It'll encourage you to be able to schedule self-love and self-care onto your calendar, which is the whole point. So let me do this. And I'm so confused. All right, here we go. Let us do the weekend forecast. I'm feeling moved to use the Work Your Light Oracle cards by Rebecca Campbell with artwork by Danielle Noel. Danielle Noel, by the way, is the artist that created the Star Child's Tarot and the Moon Child's Tarot, both beautiful tarot decks. But this deck, they've collaborated twice. So these are two Oracle decks. So this is the Work Your Light deck, and then this is the Starseed Oracle. So Oracle decks are structured in a different way to the tarot, and I really love Oracle decks because they're almost a little bit kinder, a little bit gentler, but they also really can sum up a tarot reading or situation, really great for summarizing or winding down a tarot session. I had grabbed this. Oh, never mind. My calendar for Self-Love Day, by the way, was on February 13th. But I would say make Self-Love Day every day by practicing self-care, right? Okay, so let us shuffle up and talk about what our weekend has in store. Ooh, that was a flyer. Okay. Oh, boy. All right, well, we're going to take the flyer as a sign and just read that one. So the card that flew out of the deck while I was shuffling is Answer the Call. What is your soul calling you to do? So since Oracle decks have a different structure than tarot decks, I'm going to read from the companion book, and then I'm going to riff a little bit about how I would interpret this Oracle card for the weekend forecast. So this is an inquiry card. I'll hold it up as I'm giving the reading. Your guidance is divinely guided. You are being called to answer the call of your soul. It may be scary, it may not make sense, but if you trust your soul's yearnings, you will live a life beyond what your mind could possibly imagine. Answering your soul's calling is not a one-time thing, rather a lifelong dance. Deep down, you already know what you long for, what your soul yearns for. Whatever you're called to do, that is your calling. Don't overthink it. Don't wait for permission. Just say yes. Most people are waiting for a step-by-step plan before they take their first step. But intuition doesn't work like that. You're right, it doesn't. It takes faith and courage to answer the calls of your soul. And that's why most people don't do it. But you are not most people. You are in exactly the right place to answer your calling now. You don't need to know the whole plan. You don't even need to know where it is leading. You just need to take the next step. No one has ever had the complete, perfect plan. There is no end destination. There is no right or wrong way to do it, and you do not need permission from anybody else. Sometimes the more resistance we have around answering a soul calling, the more important it is to our soul's growth. So the inquiry is, what is your soul calling you to do? So this is a pretty big reading for this weekend. I think that especially with Mercury going direct tomorrow, it may feel like it's been 3 to 4 weeks of like, hurry up and wait. But now it's like, I know that the companion book was saying like, you don't need permission. Well, up until now, it's felt that way. And now it's almost like you're getting that guidance, or you're getting that sign to go ahead, that now is the time, or it's overdue. So heed the call. Sometimes it's hard, but the hardness doesn't mean that that path is blocked to you. It just might mean you need to work a little bit harder, or it's going to be worthwhile. But I think your intuition knows the difference between, a bog versus a closed door. You may need to slog through some stuff to get to the other side, or it might be like this path isn't for you. You know the difference between those two things. So intuition is very important in that portion of it. Like, feel in your gut. Is this a closed door? Is this a closed path? Or is this hard because I'm making it hard? Or is it hard because it's worth it? So that is your weekend forecast for this weekend. Heed the call, answer the call. That's our work for this weekend. So I hope you enjoyed the episode. I sure enjoyed it. Let me go ahead and take down my widgets. Oh, hold on 1 second here. One of these days, I'm going to navigate this completely and utterly smoothly, but today is not that day. So thank you all so much for watching. I'm going to remind everyone when this thing happens. Where's the crawler that I created for this? I swear I created a crawler. Yes. So just a reminder, next week, we are going to be talking about revisiting the Tessera Oracle, and talking about those different charms, that divination system. And also I will be doing free readings on that episode. So if you're one of those people that keep on coming into the workshops thinking you're getting a free reading, that is the workshop to show up for, folks. I will be doing free one question, one charm reading, so you won't want to miss it. Come back here Friday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Dina's saying, have a great weekend. Katie's saying, have a great weekend. I say, have a great weekend to all of you. I'm going to go ahead and hide that and just reiterate who I am, what I do. Once again, I am Hilary, professional tarot reader, demystifying the mystical and putting you in touch with the most beautiful of gifts, your own intuition, because yes, my friend, do not argue with me. You have intuition. I believe everyone has intuition. If you would like a reading with me, you can totally book one at www.tarotbyhilary.com. That is Hilary with one L. And I'm going to go ahead and hide this and show something that I've been doing for the YouTubers, which is a directory for previous video and a directory for a suggested video in the workshop. So maybe I'll put the boundaries one on there. What do you think? I think that's a good idea. All right. Have a great weekend. I'll see you again next Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Bye.